Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here, and it's time for part 2 of the Q&A, so let's go ahead and get this started. Alright, first question. Apparently doing sit-ups and crunches in the morning can cause injuries because you're not supposed to compress your spine after waking up. Since it stretches and gets taller as you sleep, does that also mean that lifting weights should not be done in the morning for the same reason? Should squats be especially avoided since you're putting all that weight and compressing your spine? Okay, I'm gonna be a bit of a dick right here, because not only is this the most ludicrous thing I've ever heard in my life, I've never heard anything like this before in my life, and the chain of logic doesn't follow. Like, listening to the chain of logic, if A then B then C, sounds like, if a choo-choo train eats ice cream after midnight, will it turn into a gremlin because cats walk on the moon with a record Joe Biden? That's basically what it read like. There is no. You started with a completely false, insane premise. So there is no chain of logic after that. That's complete. They cause injuries because, well, first of all, sit-ups and crunches don't compress your spine. Okay? They don't compress your spine anyways. There is no spinal compression. So it's completely illogical, completely irrational. Tons of world-class level athletes get up and train early in the morning. You guys have actually seen me get up and do max squats at 5 a.m. Okay? I do conditioning work sometimes at 3 or 4 in the morning that do involve compression. So you don't see me talking about my back being hurt. So where are you coming up with this? It's completely insane. And this is the problem you have, is like, this is the sort of stuff that you hear people come up with who don't work out. They don't know anything about training. They're not coaches. They have no background whatsoever in exercise science, like zero, nothing. No practical, no formal, no experience, who just come up with crazy things and they spread them as myths. Oh yeah, don't do sit-ups in the morning because it'll hurt your back. What? Totally insane. Total make-believe fantasy based on nothing that probably your cousin made up. Okay? Who doesn't even work out. Right? Your cousin, who's a high school dropout, probably made this up, and then it got spread through your family, and that's where you heard it. So it's perfectly fine. You can train in the morning. It's a non-issue. I've never, ever felt any pain in my back from doing squatting or deadlifting early in the morning, ever in my life, even when I'm at maxes. This is based on nonsense. All right, next question. You talked about not rocking the box, but your recent videos look to have about 4 to 6 inches of horizontal travel from sitting, leaning back, then rocking forward before you break the box. Can you talk about this? How much is too much? Or have you changed your stance on strict bar path versus the original Culvert City westside? No, I don't have that much rocking. There's a small amount. So let's talk about that. How much is permissible? Zero. Okay, now, I want this to be very, very, very clear. Whatever you allow or you think that you're doing, multiply it times 4. Okay? The amount of rocking that you feel will be about 4 times that if you film it on camera later. So if you focus on being as strict as you possibly can when you box squat in terms of rocking, and what do we mean by strict? You don't let your torso come back. When we talk about sitting back, what are we talking about? We're talking about pushing your hips and your butt back, right? Like a bikini competitor trying to impress the judges. Like, get that taint up in the air. Okay? Get it up in the air. Okay? Push your hips back. Doesn't mean push your back back. You won't forward lean. Okay? Anyone talking about, oh, your squat's turning into a good morning, they don't know what they're talking about. Forward lean is not a good morning squat. Forward lean's desirable. Okay? If you want to squat 600, 700 pounds, you better learn how to do it. So, what are we talking about? I'm talking about the lower body, your hips pushing back. You need to keep that torso locked in tight. You don't want it to come back, because we don't want forward lean to occur later. We want that forward lean to be consistent. So if you focus on no rocking, you're only going to have a small amount. You're going to have a few inches. If you allow yourself to rock a couple of inches, how much is that going to be? Multiply it times 4. It's about what you're going to see. If you feel, oh, I had a couple inches of rock, it's going to be 8 inches. If you feel that you had about 3 inches of rocking, it's going to be about a foot. Now, you're laughing because a lot of guys are saying, there's no way I'm going to box squat a foot. Oh, you don't think you're going to rock a foot? Well, go put whatever, 70% of your max, 80% of your 1 rep max on a box right now, whatever you back squat. So those of you who haven't done much box squatting, take 70% of your max back squat, go sit onto a box and allow yourself to rock back about 3 inches. Film it from the side and it's going to be 12 inches. You're going to rock back an entire foot, and that barbell is going to go all the way from being over your midfoot to being over your hips, and then you're going to rock forward an entire foot. That's about 12 inches. Okay, it's about 30 centimeters for those of you who you don't use freedom units. Okay, that's what's going to happen. It's going to be about 4 times what you allow. If you focus on having 0 and you feel no rocking, it's just going to be a couple inches, 1 inch, 2 inch, 3 inches. Okay, because a fraction of an inch turns into a couple inches. But if you allow yourself to rock, you're going to go back 8, 10, 12 inches. So what's going to end up happening? The bar is going to leave being midfoot. Undesirable. So that was permissible, none. You focus on having none, and then you're going to have what ends up happening no matter what. You don't allow any to occur. It's unavoidable, but you want to get it as close to 0 as possible. All right, next question and last question of the week. Hey Jason, any advice for somebody who can't train with a belt on? I have this SBD belt ever since I started using it. I've had 2 episodes of bruised ribs, obliques, and QL strain. The belt keeps digging into my ribs and hurts me badly. Thanks. Well, you need to put the belt on correctly, because you do need to train with a belt. Right? There are very, very, very solid benefits of training with a belt. Covered this a lot lately. I wear a belt all the time. Only a handful of lifts I don't wear a belt on. Okay? It would behoove you to use it. Well, how's the belt bruising your ribs? How high do you have that belt? Okay? How high do you have that belt? Get it lower down. Get it lower down. Get in a better position. The next question I have is, how tight is that belt? Right? How tight do you have that belt on? You know, I always hear about dudes breaking belts. Breaking their lever. I've never broken a belt while pulling over 600 pounds. You didn't even see me break my cheap belt. I use a more expensive one for most of my stuff now. I use a 13 millimeter Inzer. You guys have watched me use a $40 Amazon belt. 600 plus pound deadlift, squats up over 500 without breaking it. Well, how damn tight do you have the belt on? The belt should be loose enough that you can fit a couple fingers in it. Like when that belt is up there, you should be able to at least squeeze a finger in there, one of your fingers in between your abs and that belt. Okay? We don't use the belt to restrict our breathing. We use the belt to press our abdominal wall against so that we can raise intra-abdominal pressure and create an irradiant effect by bracing our core against it to push against. Now, if it's so tight that you can't breathe, how are you going to press your core against it? You have no wiggle room. You get a big belly full of air and you press your abs against the belt. That's how we use a belt. I mean, you don't want it loose. You want it reasonably snug. But it shouldn't be so tight that you can't just squeeze a finger in there in between, right? So you got your belt too tight. Your belt's in the wrong position. It's too tight. Okay? You got it too tight, and maybe you haven't broken it in yet. You slept in your belt overnight, right? You haven't done that yet? You need to go ahead and do that. Go ahead and just put that belt on. Go ahead and sleep in it one night, overnight. Get it broke in. Put it on correctly. Alright guys, but that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I will talk to you guys next time.